I'm here with George H. Lewis, Upper East Side, Manhattan, and we are shooting live a fantastic, beautiful interview about ancient healing, astrology, and sound healing. Please give us thumbs up if you can hear us and see us. I'm super excited about this interview, especially that this is a beautiful temple in the center of New York City with all these fantastic ancient instruments. Hello, George.
Hi, it's very nice to be here today. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my work with you.
Thank you so much for inviting us.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're an amazing artist and a healer with sound, also an astrologer. So talk to us a little bit about your work.
Well, I think in a way, the way I'd answer that is the archetype of the artist has always been actually very similar to the archetype of the spiritual seeker. So my passion has always been finding that connection between art and spirituality, between creativity and consciousness. So the modalities that I've been working through, predominantly astrology and sound therapy, sound bowl healing, vibrational healing, is a beautiful practice of mine, and the more I learn, the more I feel I can share. So I'm constantly going between student to teacher, and it's a beautiful journey for me.
It is so amazing because the sound healing penetrates the deepest, the cells of the body, the brain, everything. How did you find the combination to be with astrology and sound?
Well, the astrology started first. I mean, there's no question about it that when I was a very young boy, I was deeply fascinated with things to do with the metaphysical world. From an early boy, I think I remember at the age of 12, I devoured Nostradamus. I read every single one of his quatrains. And I didn't really have many people to talk to about it. And I had to sort of explore a lot of this stuff on my own. I wouldn't really say I had my first true spiritual teacher until I was in my early 20s. I came to astrology somewhat late. I came to it only 3.5, 4 years ago through a teacher from the Carl Jung Institute. It's quite a long story, but to keep it short, I got this text message in the middle of the night. I never have my phone by my bed. And I got up to go to the loo. And I saw this text message come through from an Indian spiritual teacher who says, I have to introduce you to this teacher tomorrow who's an astrologer. And I said, okay, that's fine. So I meet him and the deal is done. And he taught me, he was called Monty Taylor, he taught me astrology for 2 full years. And that set me on my course, and now I've been studying ancient astrology, Hellenistic astrology. I've had 6 visits to Bhutan. I started studying sound bowl therapy in Bhutan, and then I did a course here in New York City. And I sort of synthesize, I bring them together. The astrology is archetypal, so it's to do with how we connect. So what is your Venus? If your Venus is in Pisces, it's exalted. If your Venus is in Gemini, it's going to be more intellectual. I bring the archetypes together, and then I use the sound bowl to get into the body, to integrate mind, body, spirit.
Yes, it is very magical. This is how we connected astrology and also channeling. I wanted to ask you about your book.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your book.
Well, I've co-written a book with a friend of mine called A.D. LeBeau, and this book is it's called The Boy and the Boy King. I came up with this concept quite a few years ago. My son is called Arthur, and it's about Arthur and his bun-bun. He has a bunny called Bun-Bun. But of course the stuffed bunny isn't literal. It's metaphysical, it's metaphorical actually. It represents his soul. So Arthur travels back in time to ancient Egypt, where he meets King Tut, the young boy king. They're the same age. They play together as boys. Of course the boy king has never played like a boy. He's been robbed of his childhood. And yet Arthur is just a normal boy from New York City. So this interchange, maybe the hero's journey as Joseph Campbell would suggest, this interchange and dialogue between the normal boy and the king, and finding in a way one's position in the universe, one's job. And this book is really mystical because it taps into what is our soul contract, or maybe what Caroline Myss would say is sacred contract. We all have a divine mission, and I feel my job as I explore my own is to share those insights with us all in this short space of time that we call a human life.
This is amazing. What I loved mostly about the book was the emphasis on our choice regarding the way we live our lives and regarding the way we treat the earth. That was really beautiful. And I know you also have a special relationship with the elements and a special relationship with water.
Yes.
I know that you paint water. You have amazing paintings. We have one in the space. Maybe we'll share it later. But how has been your journey in relationship with water and painting and sound?
Well, many of our listeners will not be familiar with archetypal language, but it's something that we must begin to use more often. It's more important, this language, for me than a lot of the stuff we learn at school. My Mercury, we all know what Mercury represents. It's the god of communication and information. My Mercury's in Pisces. Pisces is the domain of water. It's the domain of the mystical. And of course, water, Neptune, in modern astrology rules Pisces. But we all know that Neptune is the god of the ocean. So the high vibration, water is consciousness. Like Dr. Emoto said, water carries consciousness. It's the divine memory. It's ancient. But it's also where the healing, the wellspring of our soul comes from. We are 70% water. We reflect that in the planet, the micro in the macro, the individual within the collective. But water is so important. When I place it in the bowls, I'm able to activate the water in the patient and stimulate their own self-healing. I'm not the healer, they are. They're just getting in touch with their own their own divinity. And
also the consciousness.
Yes.
What is consciousness? It is the subconscious, Neptune,
yes.
Shiva.
Yes.
And by the sound, we touch the deepest part of the individual receiving the healing in that consciousness. I just wanted to say for one moment hello to everyone that is watching. Thank you for watching us. Please ask questions. We're going to be able to answer later on, and also put all the links, George's book and website for astrology and sound healing. The other question I had is, what did you see in your years of healing as a healer? And I know you were born in England. How many years do you live in New York, by the way?
I've been here 7 years now.
7 years. And I know you have 2 children.
Yes.
Yes. And I know your love for the ancient world, ancient Greece and ancient Egypt, and history and mythology, archetypes. How have you seen this work helping people throughout the years? Is it more physical? Is it emotional? Is it mental? What was your experience?
So I think these are really good questions. They're complex questions which require a long answer. I will like to posit it that in the last 250 years we have really lived in the mind. Mm-hmm. You could argue we've lived in the mind for much longer, but if you look at it from a philosophical perspective, Descartes and the Cartesian model of separation of mind and body, let alone spirit, has kind of run out of steam. And today what we're all trying to do, if we pull away the fake veneer of politics, we have a cosmological crisis, not a political one. We really have to integrate mind, body and spirit, but you will do it in your unique way and I shall do it in mine. My soul contract uses water with vibrational bowls. Astrology, I'm English, I come from an intellectual tradition. Astrology is very easy for me. It's deeply immersed in symbolism. I love symbols. The archetype leaps out at me when I see it. There I see Saturn with its glyph, and it speaks to me about structure and order. But of course, too much order is a nightmare, like sometimes we're experiencing today.
It's rigidity.
It's rigidity.
Yeah.
But then, no order at all is chaos, mm-hmm. and there's no structure, so you can't have form. So it's all about this balance, interchange. But to answer your question, for me, it's about tapping into the soul contract and working with really what you have at your disposal, and really helping heal other people by healing yourself. You see, constantly for me, it's about the more I'm able to help other people, the more I'm able to help myself, and vice versa. It's constantly backwards and forwards. It's yin and yang. It's take and receive.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen people with serious physical or mental illness being healing or responding with sound?
Yes, of course. Some people come here with very strong physical issues, others come here with very strong emotional issues, or spiritual issues, mental issues. For me, I don't always look at it as separation, because ultimately disease is unease, and when unease becomes disease, that's when the cancer and the entropy sets in the body. It manifests last in the body. It doesn't start in the body. It starts in our core, where our soul can't express itself. And once it can't express itself, and we all find that, whether it's childhood trauma or trauma now. This is a trauma planet, as Laura Eisenhower would say. It's going to remain a trauma planet until we ascend to the next dimension.
She's fantastic, isn't she?
So the point is, though, what does that next dimension mean? Are we going to be brave enough to go forward together and co-create, as opposed to living in a low vibrational state? And that really is the great conversation today.
Yes. The first step is to acknowledge it. The first step is to have the consciousness to see it, and to see that, to feel the imbalance. That is why on Healer Speak, all we are sharing is about coming back into the body, feeling deeply, tuning in with the body, so we're able to feel when something is not going well, right? If you're sensitive, right away you will feel that something is not right in the body, and then what we do, we ask for help, and we try to treat it holistically, right, from all angles. Right. And I think, because I love astrology too, and everybody who is watching knows I love astrology, it's a wonderful language, and it's a wonderful place to begin.
Yep.
To look at your chart, to see where you are, and start from there. Amazing. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for sharing all of this with us. Is there anything else that you would like to share? Maybe your next project, or an exhibit, or a retreat? Anything else you'd like to share with us?
I'm co-hosting a retreat in Mykonos, Greece.
Which I want to go, by the way.
It's from the 16th to the 24th of June. It's going to be amazing. I will be doing sound bowl therapy healing, astrology and tarot, and giving 3 or 4 workshops and lectures about what is a spiritual life and how we can explore our self-sovereignty within the collective consciousness, and many different things which pertain to how we can live a better life. And I'm co-hosting it with two lovely ladies. One is called Katina and the other is called Maddie. Maddie's a brilliant yoga instructor and teacher, and the other is an amazing healer, Reiki master and psychic. So
from Australia.
From Australia, yes. Yeah. She's actually British,
okay.
but she's lived in Australia for many years. That's Katina.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's actually Greek.
Yes, that's right. She's Greek. She is Greek. Yeah.
Hello, Katina. I have one last question, and then I wanted to share with you, I'm excited today because I will receive a sound healing from George in this beautiful temple, Upper East Side of Manhattan. I'm just in awe. It's simply unbelievable how beautiful it is here, and also the ancient instruments. I'm just in awe and respect of the presence of these ancient instruments of sound. What would you say it's the difference? Because I heard you saying this several times. What is the difference of ancient astrology from modern astrology?
Well, in the ancient world, whether it's Babylonian or ancient Egyptian, and of course Hellenistic, which is somewhat of a mixture of the two, they only understood the 7 planets, so the 2 luminaries of the moon and the sun, and then Mercury through to Saturn, because those are the only planets that we can see with the naked eye. Mm-hmm. So the planets of Uranus, Neptune and Pluto hadn't been discovered. Those gods existed. The mythology knows about them. Uranus, the sky god, Neptune, the god of the oceans, and of course Pluto, or Hades, the god of the underworld, of the unconscious. But ancient astrology really it's more fatalistic actually, and modern astrology is all about potential, which is very good, where they don't tend to focus on certain charts which have debilitations, issues which aren't positive. And I feel I want to synthesize ancient law, ancient information which is very powerful, and we have forgotten aspects of it to our detriment, and integrate it with some of the great positive aspects of modern astrology, which is more psychological astrology. In ancient astrology, you have electional astrology, where you can look at where the planets are going to be and make a really great prayer or offering to coincide with what's called the benefic, as opposed to malefic, angles of the heavens. These are very powerful tools that we mustn't be silly enough to negate. And, let me say this, is why would the Catholic Church or any organization ban astrology so vehemently if it had no power?
It is the power that was given to us from the ancients. Like everywhere you go in ancient monuments, you will see the symbols of the planets. They knew something, they had this knowledge. Yeah. And so I love the part that we have the possibility to remedy, in a way, to heal, in a way. Nothing is written on stone. We have the ability, because it's fluid, because it's water, because our DNA is fluid, we have the ability with these beautiful tools to heal.
So I would say one of the things which I think is very important is the challenge for us as a species today is how we integrate our organic nature with our technological one. So hear this. I believe artificial intelligence always reflects the vibration of its inventor, of its creator. If the creator has a spiritual component, that AI will be benefic. That artificial intelligence will work with the biology, with the Gaia, earthy element of our nature, our ability to empathize, our ability to deeply spiritually feel. But if it's devoid of that, if it's purely in the mind and the brain, it can only be used against us. The challenge in the 21st century, in the age of Aquarius, which is the age we live today, is to integrate artificial intelligence wisely within the corporeal form, within the mind-body-spirit sphere. That is our challenge. And if we don't fulfill that challenge, the symbolism of Atlantis will reoccur. And we all know what Atlantis represents, whether it happened literally or figuratively. I'm not interested in that debate. It represents a deep fall from a high technological knowledge. And those pyramids, they may have been positioned as tombs later on, but they weren't built as tombs. Vibration was at the heart of how they were created. And we have to still keep turning that key to unlock the mystery of the world.
This is so fantastic because, Giorgio, answered our question. My next question was, what do you feel is the message? The message from us today is the challenge is to integrate.
Yes.
The challenge is to integrate.
E.O. Wilson, the father of DNA, said the world of the 21st century should be and must be run by synthesizers. Information, when it stands on its own, which is the pure archetype of Gemini, is useless unless it's turned not only into knowledge, which is Virgo, not only into wisdom, which is Sagittarius, but into transcendental esoteric knowledge, the Great Cross. We have to fulfill that wheel of information into cosmic law. And that's a life project.
Yes, that is the Grand Cardinal Cross. Yes. Thank you so much for this.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I don't think I need to say anything else after this. I feel so complete, and also I'm processing, I'm receiving this energy. I hope you do too. I just wanted to share that the next part of our interview, live interview, will be that George is going to offer this fantastic healing with the sound.